Chloe, this time it's a terrifying story I heard in Korea about a rental room near a university. The main character was a college student who had just moved out on his own, Gyeong-su. In Korea these days, rent near universities is really expensive. But Gyeong-su found a room that was much cheaper than the market rate, and it was spacious, sunny, and newly remodeled. Thinking back on it now, he should have realized something was off. Gyeong-su was so happy that he threw a housewarming party on the day he moved in. They all drank and celebrated his new start. As the party wound down, his friends decided to sleep over. But around 3 a.m. that night, one of his friends who was sleeping next to a particular wall suddenly shot up. His face was pale, and he was drenched in a cold sweat. The friend mumbled something incoherent, then started retching, saying he smelled a horrible, rotting stench. He complained of a splitting headache and, shoving his worried friends away, stumbled out the door and left in a taxi. The others just figured he had too much to drink and thought nothing of it. It started the next day. The same rotting smell his friend had mentioned started to appear in Gyeong-su's room. At first, he thought it was just leftover garbage from the party. But even after cleaning everything, the smell didn't go away. In fact, it grew stronger each day. It was as if a large rat had died and was decomposing somewhere in the house. Unable to stand it any longer, Gyeong-su searched for the source of the smell. He checked the bathroom drain, the kitchen sink, the old shoe closet. He cleaned with all kinds of detergents, but it was useless. The last place left was that one wall his friend had been sleeping next to. As he got closer, he could tell the smell was seeping from under the wallpaper. Noticing a spot where the paper was bubbled up from moisture, he figured it must be a bad case of mold. He took a utility knife and carefully peeled back a corner. But Chloe, what was behind the wallpaper wasn't mold. The entire wall was plastered with old red talismans, covered in unrecognizable text. It looked as if someone had been desperately trying to seal something in. Shocked and disgusted, Gyeong-su called the landlord dozens of times, but there was no answer. Furious, he decided to tear all the cursed talismans off the wall right then and there. That was the night it happened. Gyeong-su was woken from his sleep by a strange sound. At first it was a faint scratching, sk, sk, but soon it became a sharp grating noise, like metal scraping against metal. Scree, scree. The sound grew louder and louder until it was deafening as having his ear pressed against a giant club speaker, filling the room with an unbearable shriek. As he writhed in agony, the sound stopped. Gyeong-su opened his eyes, and he found himself staring into the eyes of it, the thing standing right in front of him. A woman, with half her face rotted away, was staring down at him. His body was frozen in terror, unable to move a muscle. Then the woman suddenly snapped her head at an unnatural angle and began to leap and stomp around the room, letting out screams he couldn't understand. It looked like a dance of pure agony. Gyeong-su practically lost his mind as he fled the apartment and ran straight to his mother's house. He tried to think it was just a horrible nightmare, that he was safe now. He was in the living room, eating fruit with his mom and watching TV, when suddenly he smelled it again, that same horrible, rotting stench. And from that moment, his memory went blank. When he came to, he was staring at his own bleeding leg, and his mother was crying hysterically, calling for an ambulance. He had taken the fruit knife from his mother's hand and stabbed his own calf. After this incident, her mother was determined to get him out of that room immediately. they finally managed to contact the landlord, who, instead of being sorry, was angry that he had removed the talismans. Frustrated, his mother asked the owner of a local supermarket about the room, and it was then that she learned the whole truth. The room was cursed. A person died in it. This was the story. Before the remodeling, a young mother and her baby had lived in that room. She had run away from an abusive husband. But one day, the husband found her and tried to take the baby. During the struggle, he pushed her. She hit her head on the furniture and died instantly. The man took the baby and fled. No one knew about her death. Her body was left in that room, decomposing for a long, long time. That was the source of the horrific smell. To hide what had happened, the landlord had the body removed, remodeled the room, and put up the talismans on the wall to imprison her vengeful spirit before renting it out for a cheap price. The talismans Gyeong-su had torn down were the last seal imprisoning the woman's terrible suffering and resentment. So, Chloe, what do you think happened to her spirit now? And who will be the next person to move into that room now that the seal has been broken?